This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
Objects in here may be closer than they appear. You don't got no sauce, then you lost. You don't got no sauce, then you lost.
You stay classy, San Diego.
Cam Dantzler, what are you doing?
Yeah, I always love that one.
Border battle!
The victory formation.
Victory formation. You are correct, sir, yes.
The password is RIP.
Speculation. We're happy for you.
Wrong again, liberal media.
Sick of it, man. I really am.
Real cred.
Quack, quack.
Time for two more.
Huh? Yeah, but... Huh?
I saw a shirtless PA in the Pacific doing a skull turn.
Huh?
Delicious.
Capriza.
Straight up. Cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out, 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 cash in, cash out, cash in, cash out.
Not going anywhere. No.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
He's the clown from Brown. He's the fourth in the North. This is the common man, Dan Cole.
And this one shining moment, me boy. Yeah. Will the slipper fit? Will the glass Chuck Taylor fit? Creighton right now, shocking the world, beating Louisville 47-29. It's shocking. It's our first major. Well, it's only a 9 beating an 8, but it's a major upset in my brain. A major upset. And, will the coach turn into a pumpkin? And we're not talking about the coach of the team. You're familiar with Cinderella, right?
Oh, I've heard of her once or twice.
Yeah, everybody's heard of Cinderella before. She was the fairy tale character that had the really long hair that she ran out of the top of the castle, right?
No, I thought she was the one that fell asleep and then she had to get woken up by the prince.
Cinderella, yeah, it was right. was sleeping on a mattress that had a rutabaga underneath it. A big old rutabaga. Yeah. How much should we do live listenings today?
Let's just do the whole show.
In a 3-hour show, we could probably do about 2.5 hours of live listen-ins, and because we love doing live listen-ins here on the Fan. So, greetings, good afternoon, and ack to you and yours. I'm the common man, Dan Cole. He is Phil in Fuller. Yeah. He is he's in for Tenna B today. Tenna, as we affectionately like to call him, is he needed some time off. He was spent. He was getting exhausted. Putting up with me for pretty near 20 years was probably just a bit more than he could take. I'm flipping through. I get so many emails from people. I get hundreds of emails from people, and I'm trying to get them all sorted because we got plenty to get to today, believe it or not.
I don't.
Here's the best part is I just showed it to you, baby brother Peter. He's at the Ohio State University. He's majoring in finance, right? Mm-hmm. And I was just telling you the story. He played basketball ever since he was in third grade in-house, and then he played fourth through his senior year. He's co-captain, tri-captain at Eastridge High School. Had a really great final game in his career when we lost to Jack Janicki and White Bear Lake in the section final over at Hastings. Our second consecutive loss in the section finals. The year before, we lost to Cretin-Durham Hall and Trey Holloman, Jiggy Traw. And
Jiggy Traw.
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, all the guys on the team were Jiggy something or other. I don't understand it, but he was Jiggy Traw, right?
Uh-huh.
And the best part is one of the coaches, as they were getting ready for, this is one of my favorite lines ever. One of the coaches for Eastridge, as they were getting ready to prepare for it, he looked at the team and he said, "Now, don't any of you try to prove your manhood by stealing the ball from Trey, because he's going to Michigan State and you're not." It's such a great line. And you're not. So it's like, don't try to be a hero, right?
Right.
And we had one of our guys try to be a hero. He tried to dribble past him, and Trey just reached in as the guy was going by, tipped the ball away, grabbed the ball, fired it down court for a slam dunk. Exactly what the coach knew would happen.
The coach knew what was going to happen.
Do not do that against Trey Holloman. He's too good. And then the best part was, so it's a close game. This is Pete's junior year. It's close, okay? So, I think we got like a 1-point lead, and they're getting ready, and we're getting ready to inbound the ball. There's a timeout, and Trey's over by our bench, and he's got our back to the bench, and he's got his hands on his knee, leaning over, right, taking a breather, right. Mm-hmm. And Pete says that the freshmen are in the front row of the stands behind, and they start taunting Holloman, right?
Yeah.
You're going home and all this stuff like that. And Pete says Holloman just slowly turned his head and stared at him, and then hit the game winner with from 15 feet at the buzzer to win. And then, did you see when Holloman knocked down that against Maryland? He hit that 3-quarter shot to win the game. Did you see that about a week ago?
I didn't get a chance to see that.
So anyway, Pete was watching it, and apparently, because I saw it happen, I didn't see the post-game interview, and they asked Trey, they said, "Have you ever hit a buzzer beater before?" He said, "Yeah, in my senior year in the section championship game," and that was the game they did it in when he knocked it down. But, so there's all sorts of Minnesota kids playing, too. Trey's playing. Wisconsin's loaded. They got Crowell. He's a senior this year. He played for, I think it was Eastview. And then
shout out to Eastview. That's where I went to high school.
Yeah, and Trevor Winter's kid, Nolan Winter, he played for Lakeville North. He plays for Scotty, and so does Janicki. I brought up Janicki. He was from White Bear Lake. He plays for Scotty too. And there's all sorts of Minnesota kids scattered around the NCAA tournament. So anyway, Pete decided on his bracket he would take Maryland, and you know why? There's a kid named Derek Queen. I showed you the video. Pete says he goes, there's a kid named Derek Queen. He's supposed to be a top 5 draft pick this upcoming draft. Mm-hmm. He goes, there's a video floating around of when Pete was playing for Sizzle, Larry Suggs' club.
Yeah.
And Brian Sandifer, they, Holmgren played for Sizzle. Jalen Suggs, Larry started the Sizzle AAU program. And so Pete's playing for Sizzle, and we're playing in Atlanta, right? And so Pete says there's this video going around of when I played for Sizzle, when I'm guarding Derek Queen, and let's just use the word guarding real liberally. Because, well, first of all, he's a foot taller than Pete, but the biggest thing is, like you say, Queenie does this or Queen, I keep calling Queen. Queen does this ankle breaking thing, and Pete's spinning around. And
he put Pete in the washing machine.
And he knocks this shot down. And then the best part is in the comments section. Pete sends me because Pete just laughs at this. This doesn't embarrass him at all. He's on the comment section. Someone said, "Why they got little Timmy guarding him?" So Pete says because of that video, he's picked Maryland to win the whole thing. The video is brilliant, isn't it?
It's so funny. He doesn't even look like it. Looks like Pete's a kid from the park that decided to come play.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look like they were even supposed to be in the same game.
And it was so it's good stuff. But anyway, so that's what's going on there. Did you fill out brackets?
I did this morning. Yeah, I just filled out one.
You just go with one.
Yeah, I just did one.
I'm one of those do 3 brackets.
Yeah.
My first one is I kind of pick where I look at a lot of the different websites because I don't follow. I'm not following NCAA basketball as closely as I once did, which is I never really have. Right. So what I do is, you look at the seeds. Obviously, 1 against a 16. I think I'll take 1. We know how that goes. Yeah. But I also do I go through some of the CBS Sports guys and the athletic guys and the ESPN guys and kind of see if I don't. Now again, I'm not burning the midnight oil breaking this down, but get a kind of a look to see, well, who might be a sleeper, who's this or that. So I do one that way. Then I do one where I just kind of randomly pick games, and pick a couple of upsets. Then I have the one that I always do. I talked about this the other day, and I talk about this every year. I pick every higher seeded team all the way to the very end. So 1 beats 16, 2 beats 15. And then by the time he gets to the grade 8, it's 1 beating a 2, 1 beating a 2, 1 beating a 2, and 1 beating a 2.
Right.
Then the hard part, though, is all the 4 1s are in the final 4, and then you're on your own. You just got to guess. And what I read was that 2 of the best teams, I think, in the NCAA college basketball this year defensively are Houston and St. John's. And so I'm a defense. I love defense. Cliches are a cliche for a reason because generally they're true. And defense wins championships. I think at every level in every sport, right?
Right.
When you frustrate the other team, and they got the guy that's averaging 32 a game, and all of a sudden he's at halftime and he's got 6.
Right.
Then all of a
Can't
sudden
do anything then.
He's flustered. The rest of the team's going, well, what are we supposed to do now? He's supposed to score 32 for us. Well, you want me to score now? So I just like defense. And if those teams, so I always pick defense to win champ. Doesn't always work out that way, but that's what I like. So I've got I'm pulling a Rosen. Rosen will fill out the 13, 14 brackets and come back on Monday and go, well, I got one bracket with only 2 wrong. I said, well, you filled out 12 of them, right? I have 3, full disclosure. I have common number 1 with Houston winning, common number 2 with St. John's winning, and common number 3 with Auburn winning. I can't pick Duke. I don't like Duke.
No.
I just don't like Duke. Though, you got to admire Krzyzewski. Still coaching after all these years and still coaching at a level that's just incredible. So I have nothing really against Duke and Krzyzewski other than they're blue bloods, right?
Right.
They just seem to have everything going, that Ivy League kind of a stuff. Aren't they like an Ivy League? They're not an Ivy Leaguer, but they're like an Ivy Leaguer.
They basically are, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I look at it. So we'll see how it goes. We will keep you posted. For me, the best part of the NCAA tournament is Chuck, Kenny the Jet, and Clark Kellogg. That's what I like. Just like I like listening to Shaq, Kenny the Jet, and Bark. I just like listening to
Me too.
And then I do like the commercials with Shaq, Kenny the Jet. With Shaq, Barkley, and Spike Lee, right?
Yeah.
And then who else is involved in him? The other guy, the other actor. What's
I'm blanking on it right now, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Why can't I think of his name? Well, we'll think of it.
Yeah,
everybody
we
knows
got
who he
time.
is, so it'd be cool. So anyways, let's do that. We'll keep you posted on scores.
Samuel Jackson?
Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
That's exactly who it is. Samuel L. Jackson. He had the great line from Pulp Fiction where he said, "What we have here is a failure to communicate."
That's so
just
good.
a great
that
line.
whole monologue is so good.
It's just so good. So what we'll do here is we'll pause. We'll come back. The 2 winter sports teams seem to be headed in different directions. Wild with a gritty, gutty win. And the Wolves, where apparently, according to Ant, They just played hard. That's the second game in a row where the other team has just played harder.
I hate that.
Yeah, I do too. So we'll talk about that. We're going to take a peek at the purple next. I'm going to lay it out once and for all. This is the last I'll bring up Aaron Rodgers. But I'm going to lay out the reason why I think Aaron would have been. I brought it today. I got a PowerPoint with several different reasons why I thought.
You said you don't do show prep.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We'll do that next. There's so much to get to. This is the Common Man. Oh, and we're giving away tickets again to Flop, Sweat, and Tears / MAGA Comedy, Make America Giggle Again. That's tomorrow night at Bogart's Entertainment Center. Ticket sales have been taking off, and we appreciate your support of Common Man Meat Sauce and Larry Mondello Guy. Show is tomorrow at Bogart's in Apple Valley. We've been there before. It's one of our old stomping grounds. And you can get tickets at BogartsEntertainmentCenter.com. Back after, we'll take a look at the NCAA basketball scoreboard after this year on the Fan.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Wolves fans, you know, we don't just talk ball, we live it. And now we're throwing you a full court lob with $15 tickets to select March games. Don't just hear us break it down. Be there. Feel the energy. Lose your voice and howl with us. Use code KFAN exclamation point at the end. By the way, at Timberwolves.com/March to get your $15 tickets today. That's KFAN.com with an exclamation point at the end.
Couple 13-14 past Common Man program. March NCAA basketball it begins today. We really don't count those play-in games. They're no big deal, but they are over and done, and now we are in first-round action. 2 games in progress. At the half, number 9 seeded Creighton destroying number 8 seeded Louisville. It's Creighton 49, Louisville 34 at the half, 49-34. The other game, 3:50 to go first half. High Point hanging tough, the 13 seed. Trails by 6 to Purdue. It's 31-25. 31-25, 3:50 to go. Starting not long from now at 12:30, it's Wisconsin, the number 3 seed, taking on Montana. Time now for Peek at the Purple. Peek at the Purple is brought to you by Affordable Electric. They are looking for a journeyman electrician, competitive pay, company truck, great benefits package. I mean, what more could you want? Chance for commissions, too, and bonuses. If you'd like to apply, affordable-electric.com. Affordable-electric.com. Remember, Affordable Electric is shockingly affordable. It looks like it's over. Sad eyes, Aaron Rodgers not coming to Winter Park, the new Winter Park TCO Performance Center. At least not. I mean, things could change, and we've talked about yesterday. There's all sorts of scenarios. It appears really the only 2 teams that have a genuine interest in a spot for Aaron Rodgers would be the New York Football Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think there was one player for the Steelers who basically came out and said, "We're tired of waiting, man. You're coming or you're not. We need to move on with our lives."
Like Hayward or something.
Yeah,
Hayward,
right. Rodgers probably milking it a little bit, as he's known to do. He enjoys the attention, and I think he truly did want to come to Minnesota. And you can't blame him. If you're at 41 years old and you're coming off a season in which you are aight at best. You were missed the entire season before that because of an injury. You haven't been to a big game since you won it in 2010. You have more games and more seasons behind you and ahead of you. And so if you want to try to continue this out, The only reason you're taking the paycheck, granted, but my guess is he's made enough money over his life playing football with endorsements and then with investments. You invest that money, my guess he's a multimillionaire many times over, but you'll take the paycheck. But he wants to win because my guess is he wants to go out on a high note, do like Brady did, win the big game. Didn't Brady retire after winning the big game one last time?
That Peyton Manning did.
Oh, it was Manning.
Brady got bounced, I think, in the first or second round.
What a mistake. See, that's a face plant on his career. Well, not really, but so yeah, Manning went out. Other players have done it as well. They've gone out on top.
Didn't Joe Montana do that, or am I misremembering?
I don't know if Joe did. I don't know. I don't think he did. No, because he ended up finishing his career as Kansas City.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So, but anyway, I was in the camp, and again, it wasn't like I was. What is that phrase about? I wasn't going to die on a mountain or something.
Die on that hill.
Die on that hill to get Aaron Rodgers here. You and I talked about it from a sports radio perspective. If you are an employee who spends time speculating, commenting, analyzing, for what it's worth, it would have been cool. The entire. The Sunday night game opening week would have been Vikings Green Bay. Right. Do they play week one, or did I make that up? Or they don't have the schedule yet. They just have who you play, right?
The opponents.
They would have had Vikings and Green Bay week one. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And they probably would have had the two play last game of the season.
100%.
Or at least the Thanksgiving Day game, right? And the Vikings, how many more primetime games have the Vikings had? They'd had 5 or 6 for sure. They might get a number of them now. So it would have been a lot of attention. And I can understand why the people that didn't want it. But I put this bullet point, what did I call it before? A PowerPoint presentation. They said that Rodgers didn't have anything left, but as bad as the Jets were last year, Rodgers has not lost what made him a great quarterback, passing precision, which he might be one of the best ever. That skill certainly is the last to leave at that age. He is a pinpoint passer. McCarthy's injury, number 2. JJ's injury kept him out an entire year. One could certainly make the case, given that he was not even able to practice, much less play a game. 2025 would be his rookie season. And unless he's Jaden Daniels, you're probably going to throw away a season in which the window is open. McCarthy's 22 years old. He'll be 23 when the 2026 season begins. Should Rodgers become a Viking for one single year? A lot of NFL quarterbacks have started at that age or later. There was the old, it's not like he's 25, 26 years old. He's only 22, number 3, or maybe number 4, I'm sorry. Rodgers sat behind Favre for 3 years. Turned out to be pretty good for him, didn't it? Love sat behind Rodgers for 3 years as well. Looks to be pretty darn good, right? If Rodgers were to have signed in Minnesota, McCarthy would still see the field before either of the two that we mentioned. In other words, they would be on the field, age-wise, on the field sooner than both Rodgers following Favre and Love following Rodgers. Another concern about Rodgers is his ability to move around in the pocket at this age, right?
Right.
I think the Vikings probably did more this offseason to shore up their offensive line than any team in NFL history. I think the line will be much better. They'll be much better suited to protect a quarterback. The Vikings, most people would argue, I think a lot of Viking fans would argue this. And again, it's all on paper. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But they're probably set up to go to the big game this year, right? If you look at a team that went 14-3 last year, and, it was the unfortunate game against the Kitties in which Darnold sort of froze up. He had a bad case of the jitters. Otherwise, we win that game. We get home field advantage throughout. Who knows what happens? So you bring that team back, almost everybody from that team returning, the people that matter, and you add the 2 defensive linemen, the 2 offensive linemen. We're ready to win now. All things being equal, would you really take McCarthy over Rodgers? One season. Let's see if we can make a run to a big game. I think most people, even those that despise Rodgers, if they were being honest with themselves, they would say Rodgers would be the better choice. If Rodgers is, if McCarthy, let's say he struggles, what do we got behind him? What if McCarthy really struggles or gets injured again? Well, then where are we at there?
Right.
I guess we got to go out and get Joe Flacco or something like that. If we have Rodgers and he struggles or gets injured, you got McCarthy behind him, the person everybody wants. And then finally, Aaron Rodgers to Minnesota would just be a lot of fun. So, and again, I know it's not going to happen. Though it could, again, part of the speculation is if Rodgers just hangs around, right, and says, you know what, because he could bide his time, right?
Yeah, he doesn't have to make a decision.
He does not have to make a decision anytime soon, because even Pittsburgh or the New York Football Jets will make a decision and go and do something else. And if Rodgers is just sitting there biding his time, waiting to see if the Vikings change their mind, or they decide, or someone else decides to bring Rodgers in. But again, not going to work, not going to happen, and that's all fine and well. But just, I think it would have been a lot of fun. We'll see as the season progresses. We'll see if the Vikings made the right choice. And look, even if the Vikings don't go to the big game, that doesn't mean they made the wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to say, we got to the playoffs under McCarthy, but we failed if we would have had Rodgers, because we don't know for sure what would happen to Rodgers. But and you do have to move forward with the young quarterback eventually. You just are you going to get a Jaden Daniels kind of a thing? Is what you hope for, or are you going to get more of who's the kid for the Bears?
Justin Fields? The Caleb Williams.
Yeah, Caleb Williams. And again, Williams didn't have as much to work with, but that was a struggle. So we'll see what we get. By the way, Peek at the Purple brought to you by Affordable Electric. They're your old home specialists. If you're looking for an entire inspection of your old home to see how that electrical system is holding up, that's what they do at Affordable Electric. And they're also looking for a journeyman electrician with competitive wages and much more. Affordable Electric. That's affordable-electric.com. Affordable Electric is shockingly affordable. We'll pause and come back. Take a look at that scoreboard again. Might even do a live listen-in to NCAA basketball next year on The Fan.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. When you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself, talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Listen up, basketball fans. Head to the Rabbit Hole in Minneapolis for your ultimate tournament headquarters this Friday for an all-day KFAN tournament watch party with 45-plus big screens. You won't miss a single moment of the action. Come hang with Parker Fox from 3 to 5 p.m. and enter for your shot to win awesome prizes, including us covering your tab and a TV every 2 hours. Get all the details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Couple 13-14 pass Common Man program. It's the NCAA basketball tournament first round action. Let's do a live listen in. I believe this is Creighton, Louisville. This live listen in on The Fan is brought to you by Twin Cities Auto Show.
Mission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio.
They're in a break, so we don't need to do that. I'm sorry. I should have communicated with you at first.
It's all good. It's all weird, too, because someone must have been doing the virtual board thing.
Is someone...
I'll flip it to another one.
So what's happened? Did somebody tamper with the board? It's what we call that? Sabotage.
Sabotage.
Somebody sabotage. You know what? Somebody might be sabotaging because we're the worst all sports radio station in the country, according to a former employee who finally was fired from here. Maybe he is sabotaging, or you know what? It could be Roofsy jacking with us. I wouldn't put it past him. That's an old inside joke from many, many years ago. But it's if Roofsy's listening, he'd get a big kick out of it right now. So, anyways, Creighton leads 61-46. There's 14 minutes to go in that game, just under that. Halftime, Purdue with a 10-point lead over High Point, 37-27. Scotty, early first half against Montana, they lead 9-5. We'll do a live listen in a little bit later. So the two winter sports teams are both in the stretch run here. Minnesota Wild, National Hockey League, still alive and well, quite in really in a good spot as far as postseason positioning goes. And then your Minnesota Timberwolves. The Wolves last night hosted. Well, it wasn't the last place team this time. It's not like when they lost to Utah about a week ago, but it was the second. It was the 14th team among the 15 in the Western Conference. And the Wolves lose 119-115 to the Pelicans of New Orleans. I'm really not even surprised or shocked. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. I expected them to win the game. I mean, I think most people would.
Yeah.
I think the Pelicans probably even expected the Wolves to win the game. And we get the same quotes again. This time it's Anthony Edwards. It was DiVincenzo who said it. What was the loss before that?
They lost to the Pacers, a very hobbled Pacers team.
Yeah, who started the game with only one starter of their five starters that start the majority of their games. I'm told 4 of them didn't play at all.
Yeah,
the fifth starter actually moved from shooting guard to point guard, and then he got tossed out of the game for getting a couple of technicals. But I think it was DiVincenzo who said, "Well, they just played harder than us." And the same quote again. Anthony Edwards said, "New Orleans just played harder than us." So that's 2 now. That's 2 games in a row where the other team played harder than you did. And it's like, how does that? I don't know how that happens. If you give it everything you've got, the other team can't play harder than you. Then you can give me the old cliches of they wanted it more and it was gut check time and their backs against wall. The Pelicans are playing for nothing.
Nothing at all. Matter of fact, they shouldn't even be winning at this point in the season unless they don't have a draft pick.
Because you want to get Derek Queen so he can right. break ankles like he did my boy in Atlanta all those years ago. Meanwhile, despite missing arguably their best players. Including Kirill,
Kaprizov,
Eck, Brodin, and Foligno, I think, was out again last night. And I think they lost Rossi in the first period.
Whoa.
It was friendly fire. He suffered a lower body injury when he was hit by a shot by Matt Boldy. Despite that fact, they skate past the Kraken 4-0. Goaltender Gus was brilliant last night, and I know a lot about goaltending. I boot hockey. I played goalie. Didn't wear a mask.
So you're a tough guy.
Yeah,
tough
that's
guy
you should wear a mask because of a tennis ball. Come on, it's not that big of a deal. You faced 34 shots, rejected them all. Wild scored 3 times in the first 4:29 in the first period. So
incredible.
In the first 4.5 minutes. That's the fastest 3 goals to open an NHL game this season. Boldy scored twice, Hartman once. Ogren lights the lamp, too. I just love saying lights the lamp. And did he just get called up? Because I don't remember Tenneby bringing up his name lately. Usually we do one small little segment a day where we let Tenneby talk Wild. And, of course, he also does, he does a... at the bottom of the 1 o'clock hour every day, he does Wild Today, which also updates us on what's happening there.
He made his. Yeah, I think he did just recently get called back.
Meanwhile, the Avalanche. Do you like to call them the Avs or the Lanch?
I kind of like the Lanch.
I do too.
I like the Lanch better.
Lanch lose. Wild moved to within 2 points, a third in the Central Division. So they're jockeying for position as if they're coming down the stretch at the my favorite horse race, the Run for the Black-Eyed Susans, the Kentucky Derby. And meanwhile, the Wolves instead are and this. I thought this was supposed to be the easy part of the schedule. All the basketball community kept telling me, you know what? We've got, statistically speaking, going by one-loss record, Wolves got like the second. I think it was like the second least. I never say easy. I say least difficult. It was the second least difficult schedule left in the NBA, yet all we do is we lose to these terrible teams in terrible cities with terrible fans and terrible stadiums. And, I've said this over and over again. I don't know if you can turn it around on a dime, as they like to say.
Right.
But it sort of looked like it, and I was reading a lot of flowery praise in The Athletic and elsewhere about this Wolf team's fine because they won 8 in a row. They're really starting to gel, and just confidence is oozing from all of their pores. And this team is playing so well, and you better watch out now for this Wolves club. And then we lay a couple of eggs like we do the last 2 games, and it just makes me wonder. And it makes me wonder. You like Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven? I love Stairway to Heaven.
I've gotten into Led Zeppelin more as we've become friends and stuff like that. But I love Stairway to Heaven. I used to think of I think it's the OJs. They have a Stairway to Heaven as well. But now I like both of them.
Well, and I think with Led Zeppelin, I think I read this story. I think I told you about it too. They would use riffs from old blues guys. And then the blues guy would go, hey, that's my riff. And then go, okay, here's a check. So I think blues guy was okay with it.
Yeah, he's like,
okay.
Go for it. Yeah.
Hey, give me a check for $50,000 or whatever. I'll take it. But
that story about Rick James with the Can't Touch This, right?
No.
He was saying he heard it on the radio. And he's like, what the expletive is this? Like, that's my song. What are you guys doing? And then he called the label and they told him how much he was going to make off it. He said, it's my favorite song.
right.
It's a great song.
Great song. Love it.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I played I've done it with my favorite one of those, and we've played both at, Jerry Rafferty and Baker Street. I think maybe you and I even played it.
Yeah, I think we did that before, yeah.
And it's that, the saxophone solo, dun, 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 dun. And so then there's a guy named Steve Marcus, kind of a jazz guy, who 4, 5, 6 years before Baker Street had the exact same saxophone thing, and his song went dun, dun, and they played it. They asked him, they said, Steve, you ever heard of Baker Street? I'm not familiar with it. And then when they played it, he goes, that's my song.
That's straight up, just my song.
It's my song, and those kinds of things happen. So I don't know. I realize the Wolves aren't a bad team. Obviously, they're in the 8th spot now, though.
That loss hurt because it dropped them down to the 8th spot. So not only would they have to go to LA in their brand new stadium and then face the Clippers, they're now a game behind the Warriors for that 6th seed, which would get them out of the play-in tournament and give them, right now, I would say not as favorable as a matchup. You'd match up with the LA Lakers, who obviously they're going to get LeBron James back. They have Luka Doncic, who we saw what he did to the Wolves last postseason. So that's not super favorable, but that can still change. And you could possibly have a matchup with the Denver Nuggets, who they're undefeated against this season, or possibly even the Houston Rockets, who obviously they've played well against this season as well. So I'd much rather have that. You just don't want them in the play-in general, because all of a sudden you have 2 back-to-back games like they had this week, and you're not even in the playoffs at all.
Right.
So it's not a good loss, especially considering the competition, but they got a chance to at least redeem themselves a little bit, as I believe they're hosting New Orleans once again tomorrow night.
Yeah. And you'd think they should beat New Orleans, but that's what I thought last night.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, I don't watch much Wolves basketball anyways, but I don't know if you're like me when you have other things going on in your life, which I really don't, but I like to pretend I do. I pick and choose what I want. If it's a really good team against a terrible team, it's like tonight I won't watch 1 versus 16. No. I'm just not going to turn it on. I know it's happened one time. We had a 16 beat a 1. It was at Baltimore Community College or whatever it was all those years ago. Was it They beat Villanova or somebody. I don't remember who it was, but it was the only time a 16's ever beaten a 1. That's the only time. So I'd rather watch is 13 play a 4? Would it be? Yeah, I think 13. I'd rather watch 13 play 4. I figure that should be a more competitive game. I know that the 16 seed will come out of the gate and they'll give it everything they got, and they might have a lead for a short period of time, but we know that will eventually go away.
Yeah, 1 versus 16 seeds. They're 154-2.
Oh, it's happened twice now.
All time.
That's right. What was the second time?
There was one in 1989. Georgetown beat Princeton by
No.
Is that right? It says Georgetown beat Princeton by a score of 50-49.
No, a 16 has never beaten a 1 until...
The second time was when Oklahoma outlasted ETSU.
No. You're reading something 17. Else.
This is... Oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah, no.
Almost beat a 1. Okay, these are times that actually happened. In 2023, the matchup between number 1 seed Purdue and number 16 seed FDU.
Okay, yeah, Purdue did lose, right?
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
That was the second time, I think. So, all right, maybe I should watch 16 versus 1 tonight. Thing is once they alert you to the fact that 16's got 1 on the ropes, well, then you just click to it, right? And you watch the end. What was the first one before that? It was some Baltimore... Maryland, the very first. I think
it was UMBC.
Yes, UMBC.
Beat Virginia 74-54.
That's exactly. It was Virginia. And I watched that one.
There we go.
So it has happened. But I just, the Wolves thing. And, again, I started to buy into the hope.
Of course.
They had the amazing comeback against the Thunder. I mean, they were getting crushed. They were down by as many as, 23, 25 points
Something
in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I saw that.
Came back and won.
I was on vacation.
And Rosen came in the next day, puffing his chest out with pride, and said, there's no team in the league the Wolves should be afraid of. And then they run off those wins, and I'm starting to think, I get it. I'm the idiot. I've been the one questioning the Wolves. I've been questioning when are they ever going to gel. I was told it'll take 20 games to gel. 20 games, we were still bad. No, it'll take 30 games. It'll take 40. And it looked like they were finally starting to gel, albeit against... some of the, again, we have the second or third least difficult schedule to close out the season in the association. But I'm still thinking, okay, that's not our fault.
Right.
We don't put their rosters together. We don't draft their players.
They still beat OKC, and they beat Denver, and they beat there were some good teams in there. It wasn't all bad teams.
Exactly. And, I keep reading, and there's even quotes. I mean, Finch said it the other day where he said, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, because I don't have the quote in front of me, but he says it just seems like we struggle against the teams. They always call it playing down to the competition. And to me, that's the most egregious error you can make. How do you play down to your to me, if you're a serious team and you have your sights set on not just qualifying for the playoffs, but for actually making a deep run. Right. Get out of that first round. Get out of the second. Get to that conference final and see, like we did last year, and see if you can get to the finals. Well, then you don't play down to your competition. And I quoted Steve Kerr the other day. They had a bad loss too.
Yeah.
They lost to Denver. Now Denver's a quality club, but Denver was missing 3 starters: Joker, Murray, and Braun. They were all out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was after that game where Kerr said, we got to give Steph a rest. And they did. And then when they gave Steph a rest, they won. I don't remember who they beat, but without him, they won the game. But what Kerr said is sometimes when you play teams that are playing their role players or bench players, those bench players are playing for future contracts.
Right.
And they never get to play. It's like, I'll use you as an analogy, Max. You're here doing Phil and Fuller stuff.
It's true.
Then all of a sudden, you're doing worst case scenario, and you get to spread your wings a little bit, right? Now it's like, okay, now it's my show.
Right, and you want to make it count.
Yeah, so you make it count. So you're out there, you're in, and so that's what these backups are doing, the fill-ins on the NBA teams. It's like, well, you should know that's coming, and even if they're giving it the old college try, even though they're pros, you should be able, if you are a team that is serious, about making inroads into the NBA Finals, well, then you got to win those games. Occasionally, there's going to be a clunker, but we seem to have more of those than when we should. So
So that was their 7th loss this season to a non-playoff, non-play-in team. And say you even win 5 of those. Well, the Houston Rockets are 45-25. The Wolves are 40-31. So do the math. They could be the 2nd seed in the NBA had they just won 5. Because like you said, I can't expect them to win all 7.
Yeah.
Say there's a couple of clunkers. You win 5 of those, you're all of a sudden your lot in life is completely different. And that's kind of one of the many differences between this year's team and last year. Because we've seen the Wolves do this in years past. But last year, it was kind of no nonsense. They put their foot on the necks of lesser teams, and this wasn't happening as often, but they've kind of regressed in that regard this season, and they've taken a couple of really bad L's, particularly these last 2 at this point in the season.
Yeah, I read I don't know if this was in the Fish Wrap Factory story or if it was in the athletic story. There was a good take in there somewhere about the difference between last season and this season between the 2 teams. Maybe it was in the athletic piece I saw, but I think what it was, the quote was from, was it Gobert? Somebody that was with the club last year, not one of the newcomers. That basically said something to the effect of, last year we came to camp because they were running it back with Gobert and Big Meow again, right? Bodega Cat. And they came back. They knew what team they were. They knew how all the pieces fit together. They were going to be a defensive team. If you'll remember, it's a quote I refer to often where it was Gobert who said, we went to camp and we decided we are going to be a defensive team. That is going to be our calling card, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what they were last year. Defensively, they were brilliant, right? And so this year with new pieces, especially 3 days before training camp, the idea or the theory by one of the players was we have to find ourselves and put all that gelling thing, right? Well, and then when you thought they were gelling finally and winning games, so I don't know what to expect. Look, there's no doubt the team could, get to the play-in, get into the into the tournament as the 7 or 8, win a series. They could make a deep run still.
Right.
I don't think. I'm just not sure they could win the whole National Basketball Association championship. It's so deep in the West. That's a lot of teams you got to get through, a lot of quality clubs that have been more consistent all year long that you trust. I know we've had success against the Thunder. We've had success against Denver, some of the better teams. And maybe we'll be able to turn it on and off like a light switch. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I guess first things first is they got to get to postseason play.
Yeah. And they'll be in the play-in no matter what. There's a significant distance for them to drop out of it completely, but still, like you said, the play-in isn't necessarily the postseason. We got to get through the play-in and then get to the real dance.
We'll take a break and come back when we do a little 5-3-4. What you got for us, Max?
I got some more proposed NFL rule changes, including the Packers wanting a new popular play possibly banned. All of that and more coming up next on the Common Man Program, hour number 2.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. When you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself, talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.